problem with young people, it seems, is that they don't know any better when it comes to issues like gun control. However, we are expected to know to a certain degree what we want to be when we grow up from the second we have some perception of what being a grown-up is. In 1971, Congress passed the 26th Amendment, lowering the minimum voting age to 18, because if 18-year-olds were old enough to be drafted to fight in the Vietnam War, they should be old enough to vote. I believe that if kids are old enough to get shot, they are old enough to exercise the right to express their beliefs about it. Whatever those beliefs may be, we all peacefully respect despite whether or not they line up with ours. But what I do know was best said by a woman whose name is unknown, but whose words ring true. The beginning of violence comes when we forget the humanity in the other. The core of this movement should always and forever revolve around humanity, around the human race, people as a whole, or the second definition of humanity in the dictionary, which is benevolence. Because the same woman also declared that the beginning of the end of violence comes when we see the humanity in the other. Victims of gun violence are people of every color. Victims of gun violence are parents, children, brothers, sisters, students, teachers. Victims of gun violence are football coaches, geography teachers, Holocaust survivors, poets, and dancers. Victims of gun violence are freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And what unites these traits are that victims of gun violence are people. Maybe we're too young, or perhaps we're too dumb, but we are people, and we believe that gun control is the answer to the beginning of the end of violence. We are, as Jennings Randolph declared, perplexed by the injustices in the world and are anxious to rectify those ills. So here we are, with our varying degrees and beliefs, with a mosaic of what we each personally think would be best for America. But we see each other, and I ask politicians to see us too.
Bloomfield Hills. I heard there was another shooting. I shrugged it off. I didn't let the prospect of death conflict with my daily routine. See, I had places to be. I had pre-planned worries to check off my list. My thoughts were already booked. I heard there was another shooting. My mother told me it was a truly awful shooting. So I unplugged my desensitized ears. I opened my blurred eyes, exhausted from overscheduled adolescence. I turned on the panicked voices running rampant on the television screen, and all at once my laundry list evaporated. In an instant, my vision cleared, and all I could see was a broken mother, a pile of backpacks left behind, a white man in a pristine suit, attempting to convince a criminal country that nothing could have been done. No law, no prayer, no God-forsaken miracle could have prevented this truly awful shooting. For truly awful shootings have plagued this nation, numbing our people even further, spreading the contagion of cynicism. I heard there was another shooting. Our lawmakers said it was inevitable. Classmates hiding under desks, watching as their teachers were gunned down, sacrificing his own life for their safety. This was inevitable. Hundreds of students forced to walk out of their school, arms shaking above their heads, the weapons of the SWAT team piercing their backs. This was inevitable. The trauma and tears of the thousands affected by this tragedy was inevitable. 17 lives were lost, but countless hearts were broken. I heard there was another shooting. It defiled the day of love. I heard there was another shooting. 17 was the number. 17? That's less than the last time, isn't it? It's not 58 country music lovers in Vegas. Not 49 prideful partygoers in Orlando. Not 26 elementary school students, imaginative and curious 6-year-olds in Newtown. This is just another shooting, one I heard on the news on Valentine's Day. One that our hypocrite news cycle will abandon a week later. This is just another shooting that our leaders, our professional hypocrites, our thoughtful representatives who pray for our children will hide behind their backs, anticipating their constituents will soon forget. It was just another shooting, just like the others I have grown up with. It is another name and number and date stamped on the merciless cycle. Columbine, Virginia Tech, Aurora, Sandy Hook, Charleston, Pulse, Vegas, Stoneman Douglas. I heard there was another shooting, but this time I unplugged my ears. I cleared my eyes. This time I listened to the cries, to the thoughts and prayers. This time I wept alongside my fallen Floridian brethren. This time I was too frightened. I was damn petrified, knowing someday our lockdown drills may no longer be drills. This time I was exhausted. This time I was grieving not only the lives of the fallen, but the hope that this could be anything more than just another shooting. This time in my 17-year-old mind I made a decision. Enough is enough. This time I stood up after wiping my tears. This time I found those who were enraged, as frightened and exhausted as I was. This time we held each other up. This time we spoke up. This time we rose up. This time we refused to acknowledge nothing could be done. This time we decided to be leaders, for our leaders have chosen to act as children. This time we educated ourselves. This time we opened our ears to contradicting viewpoints, arming ourselves with perspective. This time our battle was not fending off bullets, but fiercely articulating our story, our beliefs. This is our fight. Our weapons are our voices. Our power is in our numbers, our unity, our message, one that is caramelized in righteousness. We are the peaceful soldiers. We will not let our age be a blockade. We are told we are the leaders of tomorrow, but it seems as they need us now. To Alyssa, to Scott, to Martin, to Nicholas, to Aaron, to Jamie and Chris, to Luke and to Kara, to Gina and Joaquin, to Lena and Meadow, to Helena, to Alex, to Carmen and to Peter, a monster stole your lives this past Valentine's Day. He demolished the day of love, but there is power in the peaceful soldiers, in the 17-year-old fighters, in the children who have chosen to rise up. Our unity will restore hope to the cynical nation. We will strive to mend the wounds his bullets created. We will demand and achieve a safer future. We will redefine love. We will not let this be just another shooting. It will be a damn revolution.
We the people, a prominent line that we have all heard. As I look around, I see the people that this line refers to. We the people have been victims of tragedy, we the people have witnessed loss and death, and we the people will not allow for this to happen again. April 20th, 1999, December 14th, 2012, and February 14th, 2018. These are dates that should be engraved in every U.S. citizen's mind. These are the dates that our country lost the battle of protecting its children. The dates the government had failed its following generation, and the dates that so many lost their innocence. Columbine, Sandy Hook, and Marjorie Stoneman Douglas are only a small portion of the many schools that have witnessed the loss of lives due to laws that are not protecting their children. We gather here today to make a change, to stand up for those who do not yet have the capability to do so, but more so for those who have lost that ability. Many people have become fixated on the idea of losing their guns. What we are asking is not to take away your firearms. We are asking that the government does a better job of facilitating who has access to these weapons and how they can be used. So many are worried that their right to bear arms is being attacked. Well, answer me this. What about our right to live? Our right to being raised without the fear of being murdered, and our right to live a long and fulfilling life where we aren't shot down? Can you really tell me that your right to have a gun outweighs our right to exist? The U.S. has even sanctioned laws that protect birds while being hunted. Only a shotgun can be used and 3 shells within the gun is the limit. Yet there is no law protecting the citizens from being shot down. Firearm carriers are able to go around with several types of weapons similar to those used in the military and with plenty of ammo to create destruction. Why is it that birds have become more of a concern than the people concerned for them? Every day I wake up and go to school, a place that I am supposed to feel secure and not have worries as to whether or not I may come out of there alive. Unfortunately, due to occurrences where people have had their entire future swept away from them, I no longer feel the safety that I am entitled to. I'm constantly surrounded by my peers who, along with me, have become very passionate in voicing their opinions to make a change in the world. We understand that there are many reasons to fear standing up for ourselves and those who cannot for themselves. But we also realize that without facing that fear, our generation and generations to come will not be heard. Columbine may have started this battle alone, but they will end it gaining the support of millions. We are still too young to take over, but we are also too old to ignore. By coming together, we are making our position heard, and we will continue to do so until we obtain what we have marched for. Those of you able to vote need to register and make your voice count, and those of you who do not yet have that ability must continue to make your voice heard in any way that you can, because these tragedies must happen never again.
The problem is 6 minutes and 20 seconds. A mere minute and 20 seconds past one passing period is the amount of time it took a shooter to enter a school, brutally murder 17 people, and rush out with the crowd, in and out in 6 minutes and 20 seconds. My heart hurts for the smiles and the voices lost in a thoughtless instant, and I'm refusing to stand by and watch it happen over and over and over again like a never-ending nightmare. We currently live in a world where it's merely upsetting when children aren't safe at school, but it's infuriating when our rights or our privileges are threatened. It makes me sick to my stomach that news about a school shooting doesn't immediately shock me anymore. We need to spark the change that we want to see so that our children don't have to grow up accustomed to frequent mass murder. Living, breathing,
loving people had been reduced to numbers on a page and faces on a screen, and it's time to turn those statistics into voices of empowerment. We are all gathered today because we are inspired by the bravery of those people, not only by the students and teachers of Stoneman Douglas, but of Great Mills, Huffman, Marshall County, and many other schools who are suffering the same loss whose names didn't make the front page. Sorry. Earlier this year, my dad was subject to an armed robbery by a man who illegally possessed a gun. It took me 4 seconds to realize that his drug use alone deemed him not fit to be carrying, yet the gun remained in his hand. My dad thankfully was safe, but many other fathers, mothers, siblings, spouses, and best friends aren't as lucky as he was. How can our mentors, our trusted adults, our state representatives, our President of the United States let this happen? We need tighter gun control. Our legislation has failed us time and time again, and we're long overdue for taking matters into our own hands. The first step is getting our generation into the polls. If we want to see a change in legislation, that begins with a change of our legislators. Some of us are already gaining the privilege to register and even to vote. But when that time comes for all of us, I encourage you not only to vote, but to educate yourself. Support the candidates that you want to see, that want to see you grow and achieve great things. To the victims of gun violence, I'm sorry that we weren't here to fight your battle with you sooner. I'm sorry that your lives were placed second to an industry and money. And I'm sorry that there are still people on this planet who can't recognize that your value outweighs any right to possess a weapon ever. It's time for us to stand up and use our voices. And in the words of Toni Morrison, if there's a book that you want to read, but it hasn't been written yet, then you must write it. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Cameron, Alex, Sophie, David, Emma, Delaney, Jacqueline, Lane, Paul, Max, Grant, and the countless other students who have spent hours of their time making a change in the world. We are victims, we are students, we are change. We're now going to walk a lap around the school, and then for any of you with previous commitments to extracurricular activities or anything else, you can return to class through door 3. If anyone else would like to stay out of the building protesting for the rest of the day, that is your right. Thank you again for coming and for using your voice to make a change. I would like to leave you with these words from Margaret Mead. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. Thank you.
You are frightened of all that is to come. Let me give you strength to face the things that you're running